Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, and welcome back to Inter Games for another Reddit React. This time we got a very interesting topic that I wanted to talk about. So this original post from Dad Naya on Reddit is basically discussing something that was talked about on one of the recent Titan talks. So following today's Titan talk, mod support for SMITE 2. So he says, I'm curious to see others' opinions on mod support for SMITE 2. In the Titan talk we had today, this interesting question came up. Shot in the dark, would you guys ever consider enabling mod compatibility / support for SMITE 2? Not for new skins, as that's your revenue stream, but for UI and other stuff, it would take some stress off of the developers. Kilgoon replied that they've actually thought about it back in SMITE 1 a few times, but it fell apart, and now in SMITE 2 they're talking about it again and have actually talked about a few other middlemen and talked to them to make it happen. He's also mentioned that they're not against community skins, like they could split the revenue or something, but in any case, if it ever comes to be, it will likely be a year plus away. I think it really could help the game's longevity. We can see how games like TF2 can have so much going for it even without support, just thanks to the community. Thoughts? So yeah, I will absolutely give my thoughts on this. So I think this could be absolutely huge for the game. There could be some issues with it, which I'll start with before I go into like what could be the benefits of this. Adding mod support inherently probably increases the risk of people being able to sort of like abuse the game. You know, if they add mod support, people will probably have like deeper API access. And that could potentially lead to situations where like maybe you could like somehow scrape enemy relic cooldowns and feed them to yourself, or like scrape the health that the fire giant's on even if you don't have vision of it, or something like that. It could also potentially lead to either moderation issues, like Hi-Res having to do a bunch of extra work to moderate like what things are being added to the game through mods, or it would lead to a kind of Wild West where you might have a lot of like offensive and inappropriate things being added to the game if it's not moderated correctly by Hi-Res. So either they're going to have a lot more work to do, or you're going to have potential issues with stuff being added that they don't support and don't agree with and don't endorse. And so there could definitely be issues with mod support for a game like SMITE 2, and especially with it being an online competitive multiplayer game. You know, it's not typically what you see mod support for. You know, it's usually like single player games, or it's less competitive games. But there are games like this that do have mod support. TF2 was brought up as a good example here. People in the comments also mentioned Warframe. They have this 10-gen system where a community essentially creates skins. And then if those skins get added to the game, you know, if they get enough upvotes, enough people saying they will buy them, they get added to the game. And I think they said something like a 70-30 revenue split, where the creator gets 30 and Hi-Res, in this case, will get 70. And I think that could be really awesome. They said they're not against community skins, which I think could be really cool. You know, they don't even necessarily need to be traded on the Steam marketplace like TF2 skins, where you end up paying like $1,000 for a rare like SMITE community created skin. It doesn't even have to be that. They could just straight up just be added to the game. And you know, as long as the quality control is there would definitely have to be some level of quality control, which again, it is extra work for Hi-Res. It's not like just adding mod support would immediately, you know, get them a ton of free content that they don't have to work for. They would have to do some moderation on like what makes it into the game, you know, in terms of, you know, making sure it's not something that doesn't agree with their mission statements. And also making sure the quality is there, because SMITE skins honestly are some of the highest quality skins in the industry, in my opinion. I think they do great work with skins. And so you wouldn't necessarily want to dilute the game with like thousands of community created skins that are lesser quality than Hi-Res. That's not to say that the community members don't create great skin concepts and stuff like that. They absolutely do. But in terms of the work of getting like the texture quality and the lighting and all that kind of stuff in there, you might not just necessarily be able to say, oh, this guy who's got a little bit of experience in UE5 can create this skin and immediately add it to the game. Because you will have to have some level of quality control there. But I think it could be really cool. You know, if there's some talented people in the community, which there absolutely is, that will be able to create these skins, they could also maybe even, you know, look at that as a way of hiring people to Hi-Res, getting good people that know how to do the work properly. And there will be a revenue split there as well. So there would definitely be incentive for the community to create these kind of things. Whereas at the moment, generally, the community just creates these things out of love, and they almost always don't get anything for it. Sometimes when they do directly add community skins, I think they do compensate the creator of like the original concept and stuff like that. But with a straight up revenue split, you know, if you make a great skin and it gets added, people want it in the game, and you get a 30% revenue split on that, you could make a lot of money from that. So it will potentially draw more people into the community that are good at this kind of stuff. And that's just community skins. You know, mod support could go even further than that. You probably don't want like direct mod support for like online, you know, competitive conquest games or whatever. But especially for custom games, I think mod support could go a long way. You know, there could be a whole community created of, you know, creating wacky custom games. I believe someone mentioned in the comments of this post about Overwatch had a similar thing. And like, I've always thought that, you know, I mean, adventure modes, for example, people could just work on adventure modes as modders and release them, and they could just be available in a custom game mode browser. Obviously, again, with some moderation. You don't want people just being able to add anything they want to the game. But it could be really awesome. You know, we don't really get a lot of adventures anymore. We haven't had them in a long time, and potentially, you know, because Hi-Res, I assume, don't make a lot of money off of them. That's usually the reason why they would stop doing something like that. You know, they probably take a lot of development work. They're very unique. They're not typically what developers will be working on. They're a new skill set, but they probably don't make a lot of money. But if a community were doing that and they had the aptitude for it, then you could have potentially loads of like crazy game modes that could be good for content, good for visibility on the game, you know, the content creators playing these like wacky, wild custom game modes or adventures and stuff like that. And I think that could be really awesome. They also mentioned like UI and other stuff. I think that could be great as well. UI, it might not be necessary, honestly, because they are going to be working on like a full-on HUD editor that's going to be at least as good as Smite 1. And I think for the purposes of Smite, like generally that will do well enough, but you could have UI mods and stuff like that that could really enhance the way you play the game. Maybe you can put your ability trackers like wherever you want, and you can put your like relic trackers wherever you want. Some of this stuff is done in other MOBAs as well through like overlays and things like that. Like League of Legends have overlays where you can track like your jungle camp cooldowns and stuff like that, which could really push sort of the top end of the game in terms of the skill ceiling. But again, you would have to be very careful with moderating this. You don't, as I said at the start of the video, you don't want people like somehow getting API access to things that they should not have information on, like enemy relic timers. You don't want that just being on their screen, obviously, because that's straight up cheating. So you'd have to be very careful with it, but UI mods and stuff like that could be really cool. But yeah, I think mod support for Smite 2 down the line could definitely be something very, very interesting for the game. Will it come soon? I don't think so. As this guy said in his post, like it's likely a year plus away. They probably will never do this, if I'm going to be completely honest. I wouldn't put my bets on them ever actually doing this. But the fact that they were open to it is kind of crazy. You know, I was actually watching the Titan Talk when this question was asked, and I was like, okay, they're just going to say a straight up no and move on. But that's actually not what happened at all. There was a bit of discussion on it and stuff like that, which shows that they are kind of open to the idea. So, you know, there is potential that this could happen. But yeah, it likely will be a long way away if they ever did it, because they're focusing at the moment on getting the core game into a good state, getting all of the gods in and stuff like that. But yeah, speaking of gods, you could even have modded gods. You know, all these people that create god concepts, if they have the aptitude to be able to work in Unreal Engine and stuff like that, they could even potentially add modded gods for custom games and stuff like that. And again, I'll say it one final time in the video, there would have to be moderation on this. You know, you don't want people like adding Allah to the game or something like that, and then, you know, you end up causing like major problems. There's a reason why high-res don't add certain gods, and they wouldn't want them added via mod support either, I don't think. But it could be really cool, I think. I think there's a lot of potential with this kind of thing. Will it happen? Probably not, but there's definitely potential there. They didn't say a straight up no to this question. But that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about for this video. I would be interested in reading the comments though. Like, what do you guys think? Do you think mod support will be good for Smite? Do you think it's not really worth the effort, or do you think it will be straight up bad for the game? Do let me know down below. It's a very interesting topic in my opinion. That's why I wanted to cover it in a Reddit React. It's probably more second channel content though, which is why it's on here. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. I'm very interested, and I'll catch you guys for another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.